Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to this Monday, March 13th, 2023 workshop session of the Carmel Clay School Board. Our roll call, I will go ahead and take care of that tonight. Miss Williams and Miss Jackson are absent tonight, but we do have a quorum. Will you please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. We will now move on to our presentations this evening. Mr. Inskeep.
Thank you, Mrs. Browning, and our other members of the board. Thank you so much for having us here this evening. This has kind of become a tradition to be here at the March board meeting, celebrating our swimming and diving programs. So it's always an honor, and we very much appreciate the invitation to celebrate these young people and their accomplishments. So at this time, I'm going to have the members of our girls swimming and diving program that are here this evening come up in front. We'll be talking about you. This is a small part of this group. There's about 80 girls on the team, and they take a tremendous pride in representing Carmel High School, and they swim year-round, as you know, most of the time, 2 times a day. They spend more time with these adults that are with them here from Carmel High School and the swim club than they do sometimes with their families. So we're very appreciative of all their hard work, and just want to talk a little bit about their accomplishments this season. They won the state championship on February 11th. The title extended their national record for consecutive state championships all time in any sport to 37 straight. Some things that happened that weekend at the IUPUI Natatorium. Carmel took the individual title in a state record 10 out of 12 events, which broke the mark set by the Greyhounds in 2015 and 2016. The team ran up a state finals record 498 points, beating the previous top point total of 479, also held by Carmel. The margin of victory was 265 points over the second place team, which was the third widest margin of victory all time. And the Greyhounds set 5 state records in the prelims and then broke 4 of those again in the finals, along with setting a new record in the 200 freestyle relay. The 200 medley relay of Barrett Berglund, Molly Sweeney, Alex Shackle, and Megan Chrisman set a national record in a time of 1 minute 36 seconds, .98. And the 200 freestyle relay of Sweeney, Grace Doherty, Megan Chrisman, and Alex Shackle also set a national record in their event in a time of 1 minute 30.23. And then finally, a little special recognition. Senior Barrett Berglund also had a very special meet, winning the 100 backstroke for the 4th straight year in the same event. Before we have them introduce themselves and tell you about their college plans, so you have a second to think about that and what your major is going to be, you might surprise your parents tonight. This group just works so hard. And the thing that is so most impressive about them is the way that they carry themselves, about the way they represent our community. The parents that are here this evening and our other parents in the program, they give so much back. It's from the time they're so little, and you see them walking in from the outside doors there at the high school in those long Navy Carmel Swim Club jackets. A lot of times back and forth from the high school. A lot of trips, a lot of early mornings, late evenings when they're younger, a lot of transportation provided, a lot of meets along the way. And then once they get to the high school age, it's their time to shine. And while we talk about 37 straight state championships in this program, we have to always remember that for this year and this group, this was a special thing for this year. And I don't ever want us to lose sight of the fact that this group of seniors left their mark in so many different ways, and they're not just number 37, although they will always remember that. So at this time, I'm going to have Barrett start off and tell us your name, you'll have to step into the mic because this is recorded over YouTube. You would be surprised at the thousands of people that will watch this. So where you're going, and also what your major is going to be.
My name is Barrett Berglund. I plan to swim and study at the University of Texas, and I plan to major in business.
Hi, I'm Vivian Wilson. I will swim and study at Arizona State University, and I will study business.
I'm Kira Kask. I plan to swim and study at Purdue University, and I'm majoring in engineering.
I'm Erin Cummins, and I'm going to Indiana State University, and I'm going to be majoring in architectural engineering and technology.
My name's Parker Kurzawa. I don't know where I'm going to college, but I plan on studying business.
I'm gonna kind of steal the show here for a minute. So you guys just relax, stay where you are. And I'd like Chris Plum to come up here. Because not only was it a wonderful day for the Greyhounds, the coach of the year for the state of Indiana was Chris Plum. We want you up here with the pictures too. But wait, that's not all. Because it was also a landmark day for one other person in the program. And you guys may not know what present you gave Mr. Inskeep, but you gave him his 100th state championship since he's been the athletic director at Carmel High School.
They're good. They're good. Mr. Inskeep, get it. And at this time, we'd like to have members of our boys swimming and diving program come forward. These Greyhounds also had an amazing season. They won the state championship on February 25th at the IUPUI Natatorium. And the title is the 9th straight title for the Greyhounds as they won 5 out of 11 swimming events. The 200 medley relay team of Sean Sullivan, Brian Malicki, Aaron Shackle, and Michael Gorey won the program's 6th straight championship in the event. Aaron Shackle set a national record in the 200 freestyle in 1 minute 32.85 in the Friday prelims. And Shackle added a win in the 500 freestyle. Sean Sullivan repeated as a champion in the 100 freestyle. And the Greyhounds also won the 400 freestyle relay to complete the meet. And so these guys have started their own streak. They are doing amazing things, and this was another meet that was never in question. And for those that are not big swimming followers, the postseason kind of, as Coach Plum would say, breaks down into four quarters. The first quarter would be the prelims of the sectionals, the second quarter being the sectional finals, and then where the real work comes in is on Friday night of the state finals, which is the prelim night, and that's where they really try to shine because that's where they get into the championship races or the consolation heats, and Coach Plum would tell you that's where the points are scored, and that is so true. And this group had unbelievable numbers in the championship and consolation races from Friday night on to Saturday. And again, we'd like to thank all their parents, all the volunteering that they do. I know we've got several of them here tonight, from our amazing announcers to people that work the score table at meets and the timing system. It truly takes a large group of people to run a quality swim meet, and these guys know it to a T. They are unbelievable and awesome. So at this time, you're going to come forward and you're going to give your name, your college, and your major.
Hello, my name is Ryan Roop. I'll be going to IU next year, and I'll be studying business.
Hello, my name is AJ Robertson, and I'm going to study and swim at Purdue University next year and study construction management.
My name is Nick Plum. I will be swimming at Wabash College and studying computer science and statistics.
We will now take a short pause for students. It is a school night, and I'm sure your parents would love it if you do your homework and if throw in a couple chores in there. So we'll take a quick moment to pause, and you guys can feel free to leave if you'd like to. Thank you. We will now move on. We do not have any public comment tonight, so we will move on to consent items. Do I have a motion to approve consent?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor of approving consent, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Dr. Beresford?
I just wanted to make a note that one of the things that was on the consent agenda was the approval of a an action that commenced with respect to the Juul Corporation. And vaping in our schools have been resolved to our satisfaction. Any amounts received are going to be used for compensatory restitution and remediation. So that was the official legalese statement that I was allowed to make. But I can give at least a little more information, and that any funds that we're going to receive from this litigation is going to be used to address vaping issues in our schools. And so I also just want to do a shout out to former board member Mike Kirshner, because Mike was the one who really found out about this and really followed up on it and was a real leader in moving forward and joining in with this. And we're hoping that some good things can happen as a result. So thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to our workshop topic tonight, which is the Carmel Clay Schools Employee Wellness Center. Mr. McMichael.
Thank you. Excited to be here this evening along with three other individuals who are going to help me with the presentation. Actually, they're going to do most of the presentation, but this is something that those of us that are involved in this are very passionate about, and I think we're doing some really good things. So this evening I will start off, and I will also present some information about our fitness center. Monica Cronin, our coordinator of fitness, would have been here, but she had a vacation plan that got delayed, and so she's still in Mexico. Then we'll have Peter Dunn, who's the CEO of Your Money Line, Dr. Elizabeth Prosser, our director at our Wellness Center, and Mary Delaney, managing partner at Vital Insight, which is the company that does provides our data for our program. So I'll give you some quick background. We began to focus on wellness in 2010. At that time, or shortly after that, the building that's across from the high school, that those of you who've been around a while have referred to as the old library, became available. It was being overseen by the trustee, Clay Township trustee, and it was really became a burden for the trustee because they don't have staff and so forth. So in talking to Doug Callahan, I suggested to Doug that he really ought to transfer it over to the school district because we're actually in the education business, and at the time that building was reconfigured to house Ivy Tech and IUPUI, and that we had staff right across the street to plow snow and do all those kind of things. And so he did, and his board did, and so that gave us a building. And by that time, IUPUI had moved out, so the building was partially vacant, which gave us an opportunity and space to build out a clinic. So that's where we started. And you can see that we, in 2012, we incentivized employees to have blood draws, and then we started a pedometer program, which we still have. And then in 2013, the Wellness Center opened, and we started with doctors and nurses and lab facilities. But as you can see here, we've continued to add and expand, and we're still doing that. We'll soon be adding an additional full-time doctor, which will require some modifications of the facility to provide a couple more exam rooms than what you're going to see that we have now. Then in 2015, we began offering fitness classes. Then in 2016, we hired our first mental health professional, and soon after that hired the second one, and we now have the third one. And then in 2017, we added on-site physical therapy. We had off-site physical therapy, but we wanted the physical therapist. We wanted two things. One, we wanted doctorate-degreed physical therapists, or otherwise hospital physical therapists, and we wanted them on site so that they would be a part of that team, which was a huge addition, I think. And then in 2017, we added physical therapy on site. I may have said that before, but it was mental health professionals and then physical therapy. And we began offering different activities that address social well-being, and I'll speak to that a little more in a minute. And then as recently as 2020, right before the pandemic, we added financial well-being, and that's where Pete Dunn and his company came in. And we had a bit of a delay there during the pandemic because we really couldn't get out and talk to people. But that program's fully up and running now and doing quite well. And then just this last year, we did a number of things, one of which was we added an orthopedic center of excellence, and that's with Hendricks County Hospital, Regional Hospital. And they're actually known nationally as a center of excellence for orthopedic care, and which is why we chose them. But there is a financial element to all of this, and this past year, we've had somewhere around 25 patients that have had some type of an orthopedic surgery, ranging from shoulder replacement to knee replacement and so forth. And it's a little hard to determine cost and savings and so forth because the marketplace varies so much from one facility to another. But we're pretty confident that from a financial standpoint, that program has, first, it's had excellent outcomes, and that's the most important thing. But it's also, we believe that we've probably saved over $200,000 in the program, which also enables us to provide that service to the employees at no cost. Not only that, they get incentivized financially to the tune of about $1,500 and about $500 worth. We give them gift certificates for food, in case they either need that right after their surgery, or in some cases they save it and then they take the family out to dinner after they're feeling better. So that's been a very successful program. Then the First Stop Health is a telemedicine program, both for physical health, typically minor things, but for example, somebody might be on vacation and come down with a fever or cold or something, and so they can call and talk to a doctor, and that often may lead to a prescription and so forth. So that's been a very successful program. We've had over 1,000 employees and their dependents utilize the physical health, but as importantly, about 160 people have utilized the mental health, and that 160 have averaged about 4 visits on the mental health side. So we're pleased with the way that program is going. So I'm going to start quickly with the physical facility. I don't know if I think maybe some of you have been in the building and some of you may not, but we have, so first with the wellness center, I have trouble saying clinic because I don't see it as a clinic. I see it as in what I envision a clinic being. But this is the area of the building that is the clinic and the physical and behavioral health portion of the building. And so we have 4 exam rooms, 2 behavioral health offices, a lab, a dietitian's office, a health coach office, and a care navigator's office. Then the fitness part of it, and again, this looks like a fitness center. It has weights and so forth, but it's only there to support our efforts to improve individuals' health and well-being. We're not just, our motives and so forth are not the same as in the private sector where the fitness centers that you would see there. And there we have an office for the coordinator, excuse me, 2 fitness studios, and these are suspended wood floors with mirrors and sound and all that to offer classes. We have a cycle studio, and then we have a boutique strength room and cardio room. And when we started, our coordinator said we'd have a small studio or a small fitness room. And I Googled and found that in California, if you called it a boutique fitness center, they charge a lot of money. So, so I want to make it clear that that's what we have. And so, and then we have physical therapy, as you can see up in the corner, and that accommodates 3 physical therapists. And then I think that's it as far as the facility itself. And we'll try to get you over there and give you a tour one of these days, maybe when we go to the high school for other tours. So I want you to really, let this soak in. According to the Institute of Lifestyle Medicine, 90% of type 2 diabetes is preventable. So in the United States alone, there's about $330 billion spent on diabetes. But again, that's just the money part. Everybody knows somebody with diabetes, and it's nasty disease and leads to all kinds of things. And so, again, that's our focus, but there is a financial impact to all this. And likewise, 80% of coronary artery disease, 70% stroke, and 70% colon cancer. So we believe that if we can move the needle on any of this, it makes significant difference in people's lives. And you'll note here that the World Health Organization states that health's not just physical, it's physical, mental, and social well-being, and it's not just the absence of disease. You hear a lot, I hear a lot from our state politicians as they talk about the cost of health care and the charges, the high price for hospitals, but they're all focused on what it costs to take care of sick people, rather than what we might do to reduce the amount of illness, which would likely, we think, save a lot more money aside from improving people's health than whatever the hospitals might charge. So we look at well-being in 4 major areas: physical, emotional, social, and financial. And you'll see here that about 2/3 of the people do okay in one area, but only about 7% are doing well in all 4 of these areas. So again, I had said that in our fitness center we have 2 fitness rooms, a cycle studio, and so forth. But in our strength and cardio, we put that in focused on being able to provide personal training. And frankly, I was a little hesitant about that because the equipment's expensive. But we soon offered memberships 24/7. We give them a fob and the door, you can swipe the door. So at $10 a month, which is really inexpensive as compared to pretty much any place else, there's 290 participants. So that generates about $35,000 a year, which is more than paying for the equipment, and really helps to subsidize some of the other aspects of the program. And so that's been very successful. We also offer 38 classes, everything from TRX to yoga to meditation, all kinds of programs. And we have about 300 participants in those programs. And then we do offer personal training. We have 6 trainers and about 70 participants. And they pay the trainer, and unlike in the private sector, the trainer keeps all the money, and so we don't charge them to use the facility. But they're able then to provide one-on-one training for $25, which is anywhere from a half to a third what it costs in the private sector. Some of our trainers charge $75 in the private sector, so it's a good deal for our employees, and they like the atmosphere and so forth at the facility. So I've got a 2-minute video here. I'll show you part of it, and then you can, at least via video, you can meet Monica Cronin, our fitness coordinator.
Hey, come in. You're going to be late for class. Hi, my name is Monica Cronin, and I am the Wellness Coordinator for Carmel Clay Schools Fitness Center. We have a full schedule of classes here at the Fitness Center, and they are for everybody in the school district. When I say everybody, I mean all abilities, all levels, all staff members, and including your spouses and your families as well. You will find when you attend classes here that you'll become part of a community. You'll develop friendships with people from all different buildings, and from that, an amazing support network for your own fitness journey. We offer classes here year-round, so even in the summer. We offer them on weekends and after school and into the early evening. We have everything from strength classes that include TRX and strength training. We have Pilates, various types of yoga, including vinyasa, yoga flow, and yoga for stress relief. We also offer classes for those who like to dance, jazzercise and Zumba. And we also have a full spinning studio. We have 17 of the best fitness instructors in the area. These instructors are warm, welcoming, and motivating, and they are guaranteed to give you a good workout. You will not find, for the caliber of classes that we have, a better deal anywhere in the city. We make it easy for you to take care of you, because when you take care of yourself, you are better able to take care of others, whether that translates into the classroom or into your family life or whatever you have going. If you're ever interested in trying any one of our classes out, just shoot me an email and we will get you set up.
So there you go. Okay, so as I had said before, we also, our employees participate in various charity activities. Most people understand that when you help other people, it also helps you. And it's a part of our focus on social well-being. For some of our employees and their dependents, this is very much a part of their social activities, and they meet other people and other employees. We've found that, as you know, spread out over 15 schools and 50 square miles and a couple thousand employees, that people have a real opportunity here to meet individuals that they otherwise would never meet. And they, you know, if they're employees, then of course they're all working for Carmel Schools, but in different locations. So that's been really beneficial. We also offer a number of spatial events, as you can see here, everything from CPR to grief yoga. We just had a grief yoga class on Sunday, and as well as meditation workshops. As I said, we have an employee or pedometer program. This program is $5 a month, so $60 a year, and the employees, whoever participates really, can earn up to $500 if they accomplish certain number of steps and activities. And we have over 1,000 employees and dependents participating in this program. And again, they have various challenges and so forth, and people interact with each other to get on certain teams and so forth. So now, the second prong of our culture of well-being is financial well-being. So I'll ask Pete Dunn to come up and present that program.
Truth be told, there's one piece of financial advice: it's spend less money than you make. However, I think many of us know it's not that easy. So as we have this discussion tonight about money, some of us in this room are really good at it. Some of us maybe struggle with it. If you are really good with money, you've never had behavioral challenges with money during this discussion, I encourage you to think about a different area of your life in which you may have behavioral challenges. Maybe it's nutrition, maybe it's faith, maybe it's relationships, maybe it's fitness. Because as we talk about some of the things we've helped your faculty and staff through this year, it's important to be able to empathize that some people simply just struggle with money. You know, our phone's been ringing off the hook since last Friday afternoon as people try to understand whether or not the banking system's collapsing. And when you hear that, some people might think, well, that's ridiculous. Of course it's not collapsing. But for people who may not have a large understanding of the financial system, it's a very real fear, not only for themselves, but for their loved ones as they maybe care for aging parents and what it might mean for people on fixed incomes. So your Money Lane is a group of professional financial problem solvers. And if that seems made up, it's because we made that up. The complexity of your financial life can be scored on a spectrum from 1 to 10. 1 is when you opened your first banking account, and 10, maybe someday you'll be investing in private equity or doing an estate plan. Most Americans, most people at Carmel Schools need help with 1 through 7. Financial planners do 8 through 10. Your Money Line does 1 through 7. We answer everyday questions from your faculty and staff so that they can focus on the real work of taking care of the families of our community. I say our community because I live on the west side of Carmel as well. In 2022 alone, we had 48 members of our community through Carmel Schools have nearly $4 million of student loans put on track to forgiveness through our program. That's $4 million of net worth increase because of the programs you have put in place. Now, when a teacher typically thinks about their financial life, they're usually thinking about the present. You know, how can I make my bills work? Not a lot of teachers think about their financial future. Part of that is because we have a teacher's pension system here in the state of Indiana. But too often, school districts miss out on the opportunity to help serve people with their financial past. And by getting people's student loans forgiven or on track to forgiveness, it's exactly what you're doing. Last year, my favorite story out of Carmel schools, I know we're not supposed to pick favorites, but here I am publicly picking a favorite. A member of your custodial staff had nearly 6 figures of student loan debt forgiven. It was such a burden for this individual and their family that we were able to point them in the right direction. Ultimately, like I said, some of us are strong in this area, others of us aren't. And it's not just our skill level, but it's also the amount of confidence we have in that. So what we try to do with your faculty and staff is to align their financial confidence with their financial stability. For instance, if you have a lot of confidence, but you don't actually have a lot of financial stability, one could point out that possibly you're, this is a harsh term, but delusional as to how your financial life is going. The strange aspect of this quadrant is that oftentimes this is a person or a household that makes a lot of money. They simply have too much confidence in their ability to handle it. We also deal with folks within the district that have a low degree of confidence and a low degree of stability, which can make you feel left behind and resigned to the fact that your financial life will always be that way. Those are the most fun stories to be able to move people through a higher level of confidence and stability. Now, we are in the Midwest, so we have to acknowledge there's a large a portion of our population that has a high degree of stability and sometimes a low degree of confidence. It's naturally Midwestern, right? And so that is a problem because oftentimes you'll have people who can retire and don't think they can retire, and so they don't retire. And I know we want to keep teachers in the classrooms during these tough times of finding educators, but at the same time, if we're being a good steward of the relationship with our educators, we want them to enjoy the next stage of their life as well. And ultimately what we want to do is we want to get people's confidence matched up with their stability. And that's a lot of fun to do, frankly. So your money line is not only access to our coaches, which are completely at no cost to your educators, but also they have access to our software. That software allows us to gather appropriate data about usage and engagement, look for trends so we can educate your faculty and staff on the right topics. These are actually some of our coaches. I get to get up here in a microphone and talk about how great these people are, but these are the people that do the work. Lisa, Stephen, Maritza, and Stacy here are some of our coaches all around the country. We serve hundreds of thousands of households. We serve tens of thousands of educators throughout the country. I just happen to live in this district. And so it's confidential. It is accountability based in the sense that people can call us back and we can hold them accountable to their financial goals. And the best part about all of this is they will not be sold anything ever. The best time to actually have someone fix your financial life is when you aren't wondering whether or not you're going to walk home with one portion of the triplicate contract, which has you signed up for something you didn't want to buy. What kind of questions do we get? They're all over the board. Hey, is my bank going to collapse? That's a popular one today, oddly enough. My company has different retirement plan options. What do I do? How do I pay for college? And not all of the kids in our community are amazing swimmers and athletes to get college scholarships. So how do we fund that properly in the right way? There's even legislation that's come down here recently through the Secure Act in December that's going to have a huge impact on this community. The fact that if you don't use a college savings plan, you can roll that into a Roth IRA, $35,000 worth of that happens next year, and that's the sort of information we're going to be able to provide to your faculty and staff. So that's all I have to share. It's a very successful partnership. We have incredible enhancements coming down the pipe for your people. We're proud to serve you. And as we continue to offer our services throughout the country and the state of Indiana, people often note that Carmel Schools has this benefit, and they quickly adopt because they know that you're a leader and what you do for educators. So thanks for all your work and commitment to our community. I appreciate it, and thanks for your time today.
Okay, now we'll have Dr. Prosser, our director of our Wellness Center, present information on the Wellness Center and stuff. Okay. So one way you can do the up and down arrow, or you can use this, but I would just use it. Okay. Like that. Down and back.
So, can you hear me? Okay, I'm a low talker. We opened in 2013. It started with myself, a nurse, and a medical assistant. And then eventually we started to see that there was a need for an expanded team. A lot of our focus is on lifestyle. And so if you look at our wellness center from the outside, you would think, well, this looks like a regular doctor's office. We see acute cases, people with sore throats, earaches, and coughs. And then we also help to manage chronic disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma. We have a heavy focus on physicals like any other doctor's office. But as Roger had mentioned, so much of disease in this country is preventable. And there's not much focus on that in most doctor's offices. What's happening is people are coming in because they're sick and they're asking for a prescription, they're given a prescription, and then they're out and then they're trying to work and take care of their family until something else bad happens and then they go back to the doctor's office. And our emphasis is really on positive health. It's not just putting a Band-Aid on a problem. What we're trying to do is prevent, and we're trying to find cancers early, and we're trying to help people to manage their chronic disease, not just with medication, but also with lifestyle behaviors, a more natural approach to things, which is much better in the long run for everyone. It's better for the economy, and it's better for the families, and it's better for patients because they're actively engaged in their health care. They're not just consumers. They're not just being given a prescription. They're actively engaged. The services are available at no cost to the employees and their dependents. We really work hard to not have any wait in the waiting room because they're coming sometimes at school time on their prep period. They might be having somebody watch their kids while they're able to shoot over for maybe a quick appointment or maybe their physical. So we try to stay on time. The appointment times are long. They can be 45 minutes, some of them are an hour, especially if we have somebody who English isn't their primary language. We need to have an interpreter there, and it just takes time to be able to go through a lot of the questions that people may have. And again, access is during the workday. So this is just an example of what, the person's in the middle, and we have all of this team that's around the person. And so we have the primary care physician. Roger had mentioned that we're going to be taking on another physician yet. So that's going to be, we have a double-boarded internal medicine pediatric physician who's with us. We have a family practice doctor who is sports medicine boarded. She's there 4 days a week. There's myself, and then we're going to be hiring another physician soon because we're really at capacity. It's hard to get people in because people are really liking to come to see us because we have good outcomes. So then we have nurses, and we have lab techs that'll draw blood for us, registered dietitian. She's master degreed, and then she also is certified by the Academy of Lifestyle Medicine, as I am too. We have a wellness coordinator, which you had met, Monica Cronin, via the internet or the screen here. Care navigator, it's an RN who, for our more complex patients, she's calling people back and reminding them, hey, you have an appointment to get your blood drawn, coming up, or you need to get your follow-up mammogram done. So she's helping to navigate care. Exercise physiologist, who also is a health coach. So she also works with people one-on-one for weight loss and helping them to, if they have some chronic diseases where we're trying to get them to exercise, we really have them start with Liz Sackers because she's got a lot of experience. And if somebody has heart disease, we don't want them getting into trouble with starting to exercise too soon. We have physical therapists who are orthopedic fellowship trained. They're amazing. And they're able to do so many things and treat so many conditions where we don't then have to use medication. Headaches are a great example where I'll have them come and see the physical therapist as opposed to me, giving them medications, which sometimes we need to do that to help to prevent headaches or to treat an acute headache. But a lot of headaches are caused by muscle tension. And so if we can help people with their posture and help them to release some of this tension that's up here, then they get less headaches. And so that's a good thing. And then we also have our mental health therapists who we just hired our third one, and they are quite busy. And so that is our team approach right here. And then we have a couple case studies, but before I get into this next case, or the first case study, I want to draw your attention to this little circle over here with the different colors. And this is the foundation of lifestyle medicine, of which I have my certification, and this is really the foundation of this wellness center and helping to prevent and treat and reverse disease. So the green is healthy eating with nutrition. Evidence supports a whole food, plant predominant based eating is going to help to prevent disease and sometimes even reverse disease. Some of the diets you may have heard of, the dietary approach to stop hypertension. It's promoted by the American Heart Association, and it is a way of eating to lower blood pressure. A lot of people know about no salt, but actually having foods that are high in potassium and magnesium and calcium helps to reduce blood pressure. And studies show that if you follow that diet closely, you can lower your blood pressure as well as if you were taking a medication. If you have very hard to control blood pressure, being on an eating plan like that is going to make it so you don't have to take as much of medication. So it's very important. Physical activity, we've talked a little bit about that. Studies have shown that, even 15 minutes a day of a moderate intense exercise can reduce your risk of dying of anything. I mean, that's pretty good, 15 minutes of that. So it decreases your risk of dying of Alzheimer's or dementia, cardiovascular disease, cancer. And so we're talking about a moderate intense exercise. You don't have to take your pulse to figure out whether you have a moderate intense exercise. You can do what they call as a talk test. And so if you're going for a walk and you're talking with your friend, if you and your friend are singing a song, that's not a moderate intense exercise. But if you're talking and you're kind of talking like this, where you're a little bit breathless, that's moderate intense. So you can still have some fellowship with your friend, but you need to kind of be hoofing it a little bit to get that moderate intensity in. The blue is managing stress, and so developing strategies to manage stress. We have the counselors that are there. We have some of the classes like yoga. Even in the appointments when people come in, I see a lot of people with anxiety and depression, headaches, muscle tension, and pain. We talk about managing stress and what that might look like. It's really important that we manage stress because people that have high stress that stimulates their sympathetic nervous system, and that can cause over a long period of time immune dysregulation. And so it's important that people start to recognize, oh, I think I am feeling stressed. Sometimes people don't even know it. I mean, all they know is they just kind of feel like this, and their muscles are tense, and we start talking about how to manage that even through breathing techniques can be important. The red is relationships. Those are, we had brought that up too with the exercise area. It's so important that people have strong relationships. And so, we have people at the Wellness Center that have come from other countries. They're moving from out of state or from different cities. Some of those people, many of them are introverts. It's not easy for us introverts to make friends. And so to have a place like the exercise area to get to know some of their coworkers, it creates a nice platform for those relationships to start. And the purple there, improve your sleep. It's another foundation of lifestyle medicine. Can't say enough about that. Most people in America don't get enough sleep. We need our 8 hours to get physical recovery and emotional and mental recovery. And during that emotional recovery, that's when memory consolidation is happening. I see a lot of people, around my age wondering if they're getting cognitive impairment and they're getting gray hair, they're forgetting people's names and they're thinking they have cognitive impairment. And really, when it comes down to it, a lot of times they're not getting enough sleep. And so, at nighttime when we sleep, it's not just the absence of consciousness. I mean, things are happening inside of our body where our immune system is ramping up. Our killer T cells are out there doing their better job in protecting our body. And we're also putting things away that we learned during the day in different areas so that the next day we can retrieve those and then talk about them like we want to be able to talk about them. And then lastly, the cessation of tobacco or risky substance use. A lot of times people think, gosh, well, I can't imagine very many people in your wellness center smoke. And it's like, well, they do. It may not be a lot, but there's still a lot more than I think people would realize. And the use of tobacco is a huge risk factor for cancers. So I'm going to digress for just a minute because we talk about cancer prevention, and oftentimes we'll start talking about screening for cancers. And it's important, and we follow the guidelines for those screenings, the American College of Cancer Society. I can't think of the name. See, I must need more sleep. But anyway, there's guidelines that doctors use to help to figure out when do we start doing colon cancer screens. And now the age is 45, it's not 50. And it's important that we do those. Women should get mammograms, but that's finding a cancer early, which is super important, but it's really not prevention. Prevention is lifestyle. We're eating healthier, we're engaging in physical activity, we're managing stress, we're getting sleep. We think about colon cancer and how that is on the rise. Well, we start looking at how bad the American diet is and how many of those things in our diet causes and is associated with colorectal cancer. So lunch meat and bacon, yummy bacon and sausage, they're actually carcinogens. And if somebody has a strong family history of colon cancer and they come in for their physical, that's one of the things that I already start talking to them about. It's like, hey, we can do these screenings to find the colon cancer early, but the thing that you could really do to help to prevent the cancer from even getting started would be to try to eat healthier fruits and vegetables, things that God made for us to be eating. If you're looking at a label list and the ingredients and you can't pronounce it and God didn't make it, we probably ought not be eating it because our body doesn't know what to do with it. So, but anyway, I've digressed just a little bit, but it's important that we think about prevention as opposed to early cancer finding, which early cancer finding, I'm all about it, but I really want to, this is such an important area for all of us to be thinking about. So, oh, no, I got to tell you about, wait. Yeah, no, I got to read. I have one before this, so I'm going to go back. So, my first case study, I need to bear with me because it's kind of long. She's a 48-year-old teacher. She had been a patient at the Wellness Center since 2014. In 2014, she established care with me at the Wellness Center. She has a history of allergies, celiac disease, which is a gluten, they can't have gluten at all, and she has a history of chronic sinus infections. When we started seeing her, she had a desire to start working on weight management, and by that point we had hired a dietitian and an exercise physiologist to come in because we were already starting to see the writing on the wall that we needed to start having these extra people come in as part of our team. So she started to meet with them. Also of significance, she has a strong family history of autoimmune disorders. So in 2015, the very next year, she started to develop severe abdominal pain. She was ultimately diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And for those that don't know what Crohn's disease is, it's a very severe intestinal autoimmune disease, and it's very painful and sometimes very difficult to manage. And hers indeed, from the get-go. It was very difficult to manage. It resulted in a whole summer where she was almost totally at bed rest, secondary to the pain. They developed very deep ulcerations in their colon and small intestine, depending on where the disease is kind of located in that particular person, but she had a very severe form of the disease. And it eventually got under control, and then from 2015 until now, she has needed to change medications multiple times, secondary to side effects. Some of the side effects were so severe she had to be in the hospital. Or her Crohn's disease became refractory to the condition, so she had to keep changing her medicine to try to get her disease under control. Anyway, she was quite traumatized from that degree of pain because it was horrible. And so she began working with our counselor that was on site to help to manage some of the anxiety she had because she was so worried she was going to get the pain again. And she was also worried that she was going to run out of medicines because, you know, these medicines, she kept trying different ones and they weren't helping. So you can imagine when you have that kind of disease, how scary that would be. I mean, every little pain, and we all get those little pains. It's like, oh my gosh, it's happening again. And her anxiety level would go up, and it was just very difficult. But in working with the counselor, and also she started to take some medication to help support serotonin and norepinephrine, her mood started to get stabilized. And then she ended up developing these amazing skills of resiliency. And so even now, when I see her these many years later, you would never know that this woman has this condition. I mean, she's vibrant, and when she does start to have a flare, she's okay. It's like we're just going to journey through this, and sure enough, we do, and we get it under control. And so that anxiety wasn't controlling her life anymore. And then in 2015, she started seeing an allergist for her recurrent sinus infections. She got started on some allergy shots so she could get better control of her allergies, which meant less sinus infections, which meant less antibiotics, which is going to be important for her. 2017 liver biopsy showed her liver was being affected by her Crohn's. 2019, she started to have a lot of joint pains. Her joints were being affected by her Crohn's. 2019, she developed prediabetes. Crohn's disease, when it flares, you have to use prednisone, which causes you to gain weight. And so she had gained weight over this time frame. But since meeting with our dietitian, she's lost 15 pounds since October. Her A1C, which is a measure of prediabetes, has gone from 6 to 5.8. So she's very close to reversing her prediabetes, just meeting with the dietitian and also working with exercising on a regular basis as much as she can. So throughout this whole journey, I mean, it sounds horrible, but she has remained working full time. She's married. She has 3 children. They go on these trips. They have an amazing time. She's only on 4 medications. She's on 1 medicine for her Crohn's, Flonase for her allergies, and 2 medicines for her neurotransmitter support. She doesn't take any pain medications, which is it's amazing because a lot of people with Crohn's are on chronic pain meds. So anyway, she's thriving despite the fact she has a very hard disease. And it's wonderful when you can reverse a disease. It's wonderful when you can prevent a disease. But when you have a condition that you can't reverse, it's even, to me, a more amazing story that we have somebody who's thriving. And I know I was going to have her here today, and I just felt like this is so much history, like personal history, that I just felt like it might be a little bit too much. But she just really credits the Wellness Center in helping to support all these different areas that she can thrive and have, and she kept building on her strengths to be able to keep thriving in a situation that was kind of tough. So anyway, my next case study is a little quicker. This is a 69-year-old female. I just actually saw her a couple weeks ago, but she started seeing us when she was 61. She came in with a cough, and then when she had that cough, so this was one of those acute situations where we just kind of got her in for a quick visit, but then we realized she had knee pain on both of her knees, history of high cholesterol. She had a strong family history of cardiovascular disease, and in fact, she had already been seeing a cardiologist multiple times for chest pain. And we found that she weighed 191 pounds, and her total cholesterol was 269. We would like that less than 200. Her LDL was 176, and now for primary prevention, it really should be less than 100, and her triglycerides were 81, which is good. So we took care of her cough. We started to get her some physical therapy for her knee pain, but her real goal was she didn't want to be on any medications for her cholesterol, and she wanted to make sure that she didn't have the heart disease that everybody else in her family had. So she started working with our dietitian and our exercise physiologist and with me. And then she lost some weight. She went down to 158. Her total cholesterol went down to 207, which is a big drop. And LDL down to 123. Her triglycerides were 60. So that, when I saw her just a few weeks ago, she's still on no medication. She's maintained all of her weight loss. And her husband, who happened to be with her, was like, and I've lost weight too, and I'm doing better than I've ever done. So all of this is just really was largely based on, in this situation, it was called a portfolio diet, but it's very similar and basically is a whole food, plant-based diet that was very sustainable for them. And they just have worked it into their usual regular life. So it's impacting this woman's retirement. So she's given so much to Carmel all these years, and then now they're having a nice retirement. So they're happy.
So now, Mary Delaney, managing partner at Vital Insight, our data company, will tell you what our data says.
Thank you for giving me the time to present to you today. I have had the great pleasure of working with Carmel Clay for many years now. I should have looked up how long, but you have been the institution. We work with about 350 employers across the country right now, and you are still the top ranked, most achieving employer as far as health outcomes, both from saving money and improving the health of your population. So actually this program is being recognized by the Hero Institute, which is a national organization looking at best approaches to improve health in the US. So I just want you to know how special this is. And Dr. Prosser, when she's speaking of those case studies, what you need to realize is if that person's Crohn's disease was not taken care of, they would have been your high cost claimant, not just for 1 year, but year after year after year. That would have increased your stop loss premiums. It just impacts many different things. So that is really what is driving the big changes, getting to the root cause of disease and being able to make people healthier. So when we first started looking at your program, we're doing multiple speaking events soon, so there's a few stair steps in looking at the data. Early on, when we could see that your people that are using this center have actually, the diabetics were decreasing their utilization of medications, you would have to know that across the country, some people would question that as improper care because they used to believe that the best thing for a diabetic was to put them on medication. But if they've changed their lifestyles, they can actually reduce their dependence on the medication. But what's critical is we needed the data to be able to show that that was actually happening. So what we found in the data is that the savings from the reduction in medication led to just under $18,000 a year savings per person for diabetes, that their A1C, which is that blood sugar level that Dr. Prosser spoke of, their testing, they were more compliant with testing, so we were monitoring people more carefully. But the fact is that 71% of the population moved to having a controlled A1C level. So they were able to now start controlling their disease or even reversing their disease without the medication. Huge impact on the individual and disease burden, significant savings on the plan, proving that you can actually do this without medications if you can take the time to deal with the whole person, which I think is what makes this center so special. Another thing that we looked at is in 2018, because on these interval steps, as Roger and all were trying to determine, is the investment working out, can we move forward, et cetera, we looked at many different things. So in this slide, you'll see that one of the top things we looked at is are the people that are utilizing the clinic more cost efficient than those that aren't? And you can see cost per unit risk is the total plan spend for that person's health, including the cost of the program, attributed to those only to those lives that utilize the program. And you can see that they're much more cost efficient if they're utilizing this system, the wellness center. And then you'll also see their ER utilization and polypharmacy risk was much better. Polypharmacy risk is the individuals who are over 12 or more active ingredients have a high risk for polypharmacy, which gives you other poor side effects and reduces your health actually. So you can see that there's an improvement in utilization of drugs, less dependence on the drugs, reduces this polypharmacy risk, improves plan spend. What we did see is that we didn't quite have as good of wellness, physical exam and mammogram compliance. So that was just noted in every quarter. We actually meet, review all the data, and Dr. Prosser is there with us, and right away we'll write down, oh gosh, we've got to get better at this, we've got to get better at that. And they literally do that, and we see it in the next report. And then one of the, I think the most amazing things that we have seen within this program is that when we look at all of your plan members, we actually have a risk score, a current risk score for their health. It's through a Johns Hopkins ACG risk indexing system. And then we also get their future risk score. So what will their risk look like in 1 year? In the population that's utilizing the clinic, their future risk score actually gets better. So it's like this fountain of youth that we always thought was la la land. We're actually seeing that people are getting healthier and their risk is improving as they age, which is significant. Then we're going to look at just cost savings and how that translates. Well, I'm sorry, that's the next slide. So on this slide, we're going to look at preventative care. So as I told you, we called out that preventative compliance with wellness exams was down, and you'll see that they right away got on top of it, and that by 2022, physicals improved to 55%. And you'll see you're not at the best in class level, but you have to remember that you also have people whose health is so good they may not need an annual physical anymore. That could be something that would be only needed every few years. So you have to keep in mind that monitoring this makes sure that also we're not over-treating or over-evaluating. On the mammogram, though, I don't know that there's anyone that would not tell you in this room that we need 2 or more mammogram at least every other year, and you'll see your compliance in mammogram is very high and very close to best in class. So again, this is that detection early, prevent cancer from occurring, but try to detect it early so we can take care of it. The other thing we look at in your program is we look at the individuals, the plan members that are likely to become future cost drivers. Those are the people that through the data we can tell will lead up to really having the most significant impact on next year's plan spend. What we find is that the highest participation is with the wellness center. So we have 115, individuals that go to the wellness center for their care. And why that's unusual is typically on a plan, you'll see those people are engaged in case management through the carrier or not engaged at all. But in this program, we see that people trust this center and they are going there for their care, even when it's complicated, which is almost opposite of what we see in a lot of on-site clinics across the country. Make sense? The other thing now, as we look at the financial impact, you will end engagement. So we see now that we have 72% of your employees utilizing the center and 58% of spouses. What is probably more fascinating, and we don't have it on any of our slides, is that when we look across the nation with all of the employers that have on-site facilities or services, that we also track how many of the people that use the facility continue to use it year after year. And in this center, it's 82% of people, which is the highest score that we have seen throughout the country. So that's a good way to do a satisfaction survey if they think it's worth their time and effort that they will continue on, and we certainly see that here. And then finally, when we look at who is utilizing the center, again, I want to highlight it is your highest risk people. So 64% of your moderate, 67% of your high, and 50% of your very high risk people are willing to use the center, which is exactly what you want. You didn't want to build a center for the people who already knew how to be healthy to just use it, although it is still important to keep them healthy, but we really want to have the impact on those other members. And then when we look at cost efficiency, what this is showing you is that for people, so these are, these healthy, low risk, moderate, those are called resource utilization bands. Those are people with similarly situated risk, put into these buckets by Johns Hopkins categorization so we can compare them. So we're looking at people with similar risk, and we're saying people with similar risk that use the center, including all of the costs for the center, are more cost efficient than those that do not use the center. We don't highlight the very high risk category. We don't consider it because it could be one outlier that could be over $1 million and could throw off that number. And the healthy and low risk, it's hard because they may not be utilizing care very effectively. They may not have had their exams and stuff, but in their moderate and high risk category, which are the people we really need to help out, we can see that we're doing that very cost efficiently. Good? I know I talk about these things all the time, so I want to make sure everybody's following along. So again, one of the most interesting things about this program is if we take the orange line, is if we took the PricewaterhouseCoopers trend in healthcare across the country and we trended that for where you started off in 2013, the orange line would be where you should be today. Instead, the blue line is where you are, and that, including the cost of the wellness center, has provided you with $8 million of savings just in 2021. I don't have the 2022 numbers because of some of those things that were added. We're still collecting that data, but everything looked like it trended the same way. So we just wanted to make sure you understood financially that it's very clear that it's having an impact on overall spend, which is monies you can put in other places. So any questions? Very good. Roger?
So you can see that finally, one of the things we're proud of is that we went until, I think last year was the first year in about 15 years that we changed any of our plan design. Oftentimes, when premiums are going up double digits, the employee can't afford it, neither can the employer. So you begin to change plan design, which is just a polite way of saying you're pushing the cost over to the employee. You're raising deductibles and out-of-pockets and so forth. And so without any plan design change, we went 6 years without any premium increase in spite of the inflationary rate for medicine and so forth being either at or near double digits. But what's we found to be really important is that we really do think we're making a difference in people's lives. And our employees think so too. So that makes this really by far the most positive employee relations initiative I've ever been involved with. And that's kind of a bonus. But most of you know that in a big, for a large employer in a big district and just the nature of our business, we know how it goes if you have strained employee-employer relations as compared to when you don't. And I believe that the reason we have maybe as perhaps the most positive relationship of any school district that I'm aware of, that this certainly I think has contributed to that. So in the end, that's very important to us as well. So with that, we'll try to respond to any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Thank you so much to the other presenters that presented. There was lots of good information.
I'm sorry, I want to make I forgot to do this earlier.
Yeah.
One person that we didn't recognize was Dr. Michael Busk, and he's no longer a part of the program. He's an Ascension, works for Ascension, but that's where we started. And I met him in, I guess, 2012 when he presented a proposal to the school district, and so he's instrumental in the program, and I just wanted to recognize that.
Thank you. Now, I will now open it up to the board for questions. Any questions or comments? Greg?
Yeah, it's very encouraging to see in our healthcare system more of an investment in prevention, and I think that that's I applaud what you've done with that. It's a really comprehensive plan. It's investment in health, so the return on investment, I guess, would be kind of hard to measure. I was just curious that there's a lot of numbers there, and it's complex to say what does this cost, but because And I come out of the private sector, so I don't understand much healthcare programs with in the public. But what how does it compare for an employee to have to pay for their medical premiums, annual health insurance premiums, compared to like other industries, or private industries, and are things covered better? The cost per employee similar?
Generally speaking, Carmel schools and most school districts have richer benefits than any number of private sector employees or employers. What I find is that if you were to compare the premiums in Carmel with some other school districts, and it's not as simple as just this, because their demographics may be different, probably are different, and in terms of they may have older employees that may have higher claims and so forth. But the fact is that when we compare with even Hamilton County districts, and I say that because in Hamilton County, the larger districts have grown for years, which means we likely have a younger population than districts that have declined over the years. But our premiums look, and you can't just look at premiums, but they look very good. But you also have to look at the coverages that are being provided. So it's difficult to compare, but I can tell you that our family premium, for example, even the richest plan that we have is as much as $10,000 a year less money than some of the township districts in Marion County. And I know from experience that the years where we were having either double-digit medical inflation, we know the school didn't get that much increase in funding from the state. So we couldn't afford the increase. The employees can't afford the increase, and both parties want the other person to pay for it. So that's really been a non-issue for over 10 years. And as I said, for 6 years we had no premium increase. And 1 year now our program's about $25 million a year, so I want to put the numbers in context. But one of those years, even with no premium increase, we were self-funded, and our cash balance actually grew about $1 million, which means our actual claims, declined from 1 year to the next, in spite of the fact that there was high medical inflation. This year, there's something called a rolling 12, and so you're comparing with the most recent 12 months. And the last report that I saw, the medical claims were down just about almost 10%. Now keep in mind that the year before that was really good, so we're down 10% from really good, and the drugs were down over 20%. And we've also done some things which I didn't bring up this evening, but we've done a couple of different things with our prescription drugs. And part of that's reflected in those numbers. So I think anything that I've compared it to, whether it's other districts and other employers, we look really good as far as the money part of it. But I think we look better in terms of the health outcomes.
Thank you.
And if I may add to that, the benefits and the wellness center that Mr. McMichael and the team presented tonight is one of our top recruiting tools that we have when recruiting teachers and staff. And I should say that the comprehensiveness of the benefits that we have, when I'm talking to a lot of teachers when they're considering coming to Carmel or going to other Hamilton County or nearby school districts, and when they see what we have to offer within our benefits for the premium price that's either lower or maybe about the same as to what they're paying in their current districts, they're just blown away, and it makes the decision very easy for them when considering benefits. And conversely, when I meet with the teachers who are considering retirement, I hear over and over again, Dr. Ostrike, you and Mr. McMichael are making this very difficult on me because I love the benefits that we have. I love utilizing the health center. Dr. Prosser is an incredible doctor. We don't want to lose her. And so we have people that do stay with us a bit longer because of the benefits
that we have here in Carmel. So as far as recruitment and retention, this is a huge tool for us when we are going out there getting the best for Carmel Clay Schools.
Thank you.
Can I ask just one more question? Looking at the numbers for those that have, the case studies and the improvements that have been achieved, do we communicate that to all the other staff members so they might be encouraged to join in on the wellness?
We do. I'm not sure we're very good at it, but again, with as many employees we have, and as we know, sending an email out won't do it because people get so many emails they don't necessarily read them very closely. But we work on that all the time to try to communicate. Even the fact that it literally that we've had a wellness center for years, and we had some employees didn't know we had it. And it occurred to me a long time ago that one thing about this, and I think it was said earlier, but if anything at the wellness center, not the fitness classes, they pay for those, a minimal amount for those, but the health aspect of it, there's no out-of-pocket cost for the employee, which also includes any prescription drugs and so forth. And we provide drugs based on what the doctors say they need to take care of people, not which ones we save the most money on. And but when they do take care of people, then we save the most money. So it all works together. But one of the things the school board does is you pay like a certain amount for a family premium. And one of the things I've noticed is we have increasing employees and certainly new employees that take the high deductible plan, which lowers their share because you pay the same regardless of which plan they take. And so if they take the high deductible and thus the lower premium, then their cost goes down. And then by utilizing the wellness center, many of them have no out-of-pocket costs because if they get their services there, and with the breadth of services, there's a good chance that short of a specialty kind of situation that they don't have out-of-pocket costs. And so that has been very attractive to younger employees that are new and out of college, whatever, and they don't plan on having any medical expenses to begin with, and they just want to pay the least amount of money. And then also, though, for the higher risk patient, they're now realizing that if you have diabetes, we know that the half of employees that have diabetes, if they go to the wellness center, they're healthier. They're on less medication. Their costs are less, which reflects that they're healthier. And so it's at both ends of the spectrum. The healthy people, or the people that believe that they're healthy, and as well as the people that have major health challenges. They're both better off utilizing the center.
Thank you. Kristen, did you have anything? Go ahead.
I just had one question about are there specific employees or staff that are eligible to use the wellness center?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I failed to mention it. But as far as the physical and the wellness, the clinic aspect of it, if you will, the physical health or the emotional health, those employees and their dependents, they need to be covered under a medical plan. The fitness aspect is open to all employees. And so, and our First Stop Health is actually open to all employees, even if they're not covered under the health plan. But otherwise, and we have about 1,300 members, employees that is, that are on our health insurance, and then that reflects about 2,500 individuals with their spouse and dependents.
Thank you. Why do we think that some employees don't use the wellness center?
I'm sorry?
What is your guess of why some employees don't utilize the wellness center?
Well, some don't utilize anything, and those are the ones we're maybe most concerned about if they need care and they don't get it. And one of our major focuses is accessibility, which is why employees can go to the wellness center during work, and they don't just leave their job, but we encourage them to get the care that they need, and we work with them so that if they need to go during work, that's okay. And then we have some early on. I would hear things like, "I've had my primary care doctor for 20 years," but then that same person they might say, but I'm going to go over there because I can get my prescriptions for free. And then later, we find that we tell them, this isn't your primary care doctor in the sense that they're not on call 24/7 and all that, but they still end up going to the wellness center. And they may or may not maintain their primary care doctor, but that's what tends to happen because once they get there, they go, well, this is different than I've ever experienced. I wanted to mention earlier, but I realized some time ago that when we share this information and we say, well, we've got this clinic or wellness center and it's all free, and so for a lot of people, they've never been there and they've never, so they've not seen the facility and they've not met, the doctors and so forth. And so they imagine, well, you kind of get what you pay for, which is you didn't pay for anything. And they don't picture that a school district's kind of in the health business. And so, and that is a model for any number of places where it looks more like a med check or a urgent care center, and that's not what we're doing. And so we find that if we get them in the building, and that's the same thing with the fitness classes, because we have very top of the line equipment and facilities. And once they see that, then they usually go, oh, I didn't know it's like this. And it's the same way with the whole facility. So if you, when you take a tour of the place, you'll find that the wellness center itself, the clinic aspect of it will be as likely to be a nicer physical facility than any that you've been in. I would say it will be at least equal to any that you've been in. And but most importantly is the staff. If you go there and you meet the staff and you begin to see results, and you don't wait, you don't have 10-minute appointments and feel like and then get into the exam room and wait another 15 minutes. We don't have any of that. And because the doctors spend as much time as they need to, that's when we had a case last year where somebody's spouse, one of our employees, encouraged her husband to go in because he had a cough. Well, by the time he got finished with him, he had an aneurysm and he would have been dead had he not gone to the wellness center. And that's what he would tell you, not what I'm telling you. But the doctor agreed that he's right. He would have likely died. And so when they have time to practice their profession and they're really good at it, good things happen.
Well, thank you. Just a couple closing thoughts. I just want to say that not only is this very exciting for our community, but we've always said that the most important moment is when that adult and that child interaction, and to make sure that our adults are at their peak, I think is only something that's going to have a ripple effect on our children. And you have done a lot of amazing things, Mr. McMichael, in your time at Carmel Clay Schools, but I would say that this Wellness Center is probably the pinnacle. And thank you so much for all the time and years and effort that you've placed into it. So very bravo. Thank you. We will now move on to the final section, superintendent's report.
Well, before I get started, I just wanted to tell Dr. Prosser that this has tea in it. And I'm now on 2 weeks of stopping soda pop and especially that evil Diet Mountain Dew. So
You can thank us too. All of these people.
I feel like that little circle wheel you had with all the different people that I've seen most of them, and one just a point for you guys is that we are self-insured. So when you look at the statistics and the data points of that, you saw me over here knocking on wood because you can have a couple of monster claims that can blow things up, but it's kind of that long-term care that the data is showing that you can get ahead of things, and of course the data is relate to a lot of healthcare costs, but Roger's always been solid that okay, we're going to take care of our people, and if we do it right, the money will take care of itself, and it's worked that way so far. But I'm still going to knock on wood, but. I'm one of those case studies. I'm one of those guys and went to the dietitian and she gave me a worse look than Dr. Prosser did when I told him I was drinking Diet Mountain Dew. So I'm going to keep working at it. But I'm making progress. I just didn't want you to judge me from back here based on this cup. Now for my report today, first I wanted to point out that this is Food Service Staff Appreciation Week, and here's a fun fact: our food service staff serves more than 2 million meals a year. 2 million, over 2 million meals a year in 17 cafeterias. And they balance nutritional requirements, restrictions, allergies. They help the school nurse. They count carbs for some of our little kids, and so it's a bigger deal than just a tray that goes through. And every now and then somebody posts, what I call a yellow meal, with some chicken nuggets, and they say, "Look at this rotten food," and I was like, "Obviously, you didn't take a picture on Sushi Day." Because they really do take nutrition seriously here. So Jennifer McFarland's our director, and she's got a wonderful staff. And we don't allow mean lunch ladies to work in Carmel Clay schools. And so it's really a fun experience. And so anyhow, we want to just give a big kudos to our food service staff. They're amazing. So I'll jump into some good stuff because I don't think I'd ever have a superintendent's report better than the last one. There were so many good things going on. But I did want to say that our Carmel High School Science Olympiad placed first in the state and are now moving on to the national competition. So the Science Olympiad, those science stars are heading to nationals. And I'm always impressed by those guys. So let's go to middle school, where Creekside Math Counts team, so those steely-eyed math students, placed first in the state on Saturday. Saturday afternoon, they took home the title. And we had reported to you that we had all of our middle schools made it to the state finals, and so Creekside was the big winner. Saturday, we had this thing called the ORF Clinic, ORFF. Anybody know about ORF? I got some nods. That's good. That usually doesn't happen. ORF was it was Smoky Row Elementary that hosted the Indiana Music Educators Association ORF Festival and Clinic. And so we had about 10 groups that performed throughout the day from all over the Indianapolis area. And as the host school, of course, the Smoky Row Rockets, they were the last to perform. Maybe because we have about 60 fifth graders that are in the group this year, and I think they performed like 3 pieces. ORF is named after Carl Orff, who in the 1920s developed this approach to music and music education. And it combines music, speech, movement, drama, all into music lessons, very similar to the way kids play. And so the way they play naturally. So they're teaching like musical skills and concept, and it's like and this is from the 1920s. It was 4 skills, 4 stages that they wanted to do in the learning process, which was imitation, exploration, improvisation, and literacy. And guess what we find out is really, really important in 2022? Almost the exact same things. So it's really kind of a really cool thing. If you haven't seen it, the musical instruments are like bells and chime bars and glockenspiels, and I don't know what a metallophone is, or I know what a xylophone is, but I think it's got something to do with it being metal instead of wood. Brass bars, timpani, and these kids just do amazing things. It's just an amazing, the Orff family of musical instruments is pretty darn cool when the kids get going on that. So yeah, a big shout out to all of our Orffs, and we have several of them in the district, so it's pretty cool. Show choir season, I'm sad it has come to an end. But we want to congratulate the Ambassadors, Accents, New Edition, and Allegro, and we'll also throw in their Carmel Middle School's Class Act, because it was an amazing, amazing year. And our ambassador group were the grand champions at every competition that they entered, including, I think it was Chicago last weekend. But all of them won their divisions at one point in time or another throughout the season. So it's pretty amazing. And we want to say congratulations to all the performers, the teachers, the tech crew, the parents, the volunteers. I mean, it is a huge undertaking, and they do a very wonderful job at that. And if you haven't had the chance to see them, there are some, you can Google and find some shows online, but if you really want to see the real thing, tickets go on sale tomorrow for the Evening of Show Choir, March 25th, and then you'll get to see live the undefeated ambassadors and all the other groups. So yeah, big day, big, great season there. Indiana DECA State Convention was last week. Carmel High School qualified 88 students for the national competition in April. Another crazy big number. And then last part of it, I'm just going to share a couple of upcoming events, which the big one is the Math Materials Review Open House. So if you want to come in and see all the process that goes through in our program evaluation, we finally got to the materials stage. And so the teachers and committee that's been working on that is ready to show that off. And so that open house is March 20th, Monday, next Monday from 5 to 7. It'll be right here in this room. And you can check out the new K-12 math materials. Also, we have an expedition mini session this Wednesday at Creekside Middle School, and that's part of our Community Connections program we've been doing. So that starts at 6 p.m. And I'll be there kind of talking up Carmel Clay Schools and giving people a little glimpse behind the curtain or a little bit deeper understanding of what we do here in the district. And then finally, my bell ringer is a little different from usual because I just wanted to congratulate everyone on finishing the third lap of the school year. We finished the third quarter on Friday, and so we are now in the final lap in the last quarter of the school year, and we have 47 student days left of this school year. And I just want to give a shout out to really everybody across the district because this has been an amazing year after two pretty difficult ones. I'm just so proud of our staff and our kids and our families and really our community, the way they support our schools. And it's just, I was an old cross-country coach, so I always talk about the last lap, that you want to keep your form and you want to use your heart and go, finish strong. And I'm sure that's what's going to happen. So, that concludes my report. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Do we have audio visual on this? Flash, the front page of the Indianapolis Star was a big story about service animals at Carmel Clay Schools. So since we are ready to rock and roll, let's roll tape.
We have lots of groups for scared, yes. Nervous. How can you tell on their face? What's on their face that shows you that they're feeling that way? Here at Collegewood, we have lots of groups for lunch bunches, and she gets to meet with the kids, and her job is to help them feel more comfortable and safe while they're here at school. I meet with students one-on-one. It could be if we're having peer conflict, just to be able to coach through some of that peer conflict. Sometimes we have grief and loss where students will need to meet with me for that reason, or if we have difficulty just regulating our emotions. There are lots of things that I do here at the school. Can you sit down? There you go. Where did it go? It's right here. There you go.
Up. All the way up. Good boy. Jim, give me a hug. Jim, hug. Now, I don't get a lot of attention when Jim Danny's in the school, but kids love the dog. A lot of them are surprised and go, "Oh my gosh, there's a dog," and others. And it's a good time to learn because a lot of kids will come over and will ask, "May I pet your dog?" And always ask the person if it's okay. But he just brings a big smile to everybody's faces, and adults and kids. When would you think I would have Jim spin? Today. Yep. Well, yeah, I didn't think about that, but I didn't ever look at Jim as a big dancer. But Jim had to be a dog that could go in any environment, big, small, loud, quiet, and he's probably about the most chill animal I've ever been around, which is good because my life can get a little hectic sometimes.
Say hi, Jim Dandy. Say hi. Hi, best friends. Come here. Where's your friend here today? Is your friend here today? Yes. Let's go FAP. Okay. Hi, Carmel. Hi, I still Palmer.
You stole Palmer. He snuck into my office and got his leash and put him around and walked out the door. He is used to all this chaos.
I feel like Augie is a great addition to our school because he makes kids feel safe, and just people like seeing dogs because dogs are also proven to be the most wanted pets in the world. I got that from Google.
I think it's important to have Augie here because it's nice to have a place like Student Services where you can go down and if you're stressed about a test or you're worried about something else that's happening, like you have someone to go to. And I feel like having a therapy job just kind of makes it more comfortable because he's just so cute and fuzzy. And when you pet him, it just makes you feel better.
Having Augie helps me concentrate on my tests. Augie always makes sure that I'm always feeling the best. When I come to see Mrs. Noss, he's always there right by my side and always licking me, and he's a really nice therapy dog.
He brings life to school when school isn't always that exciting.
We need a statue built in his honor.
We should put a giant Augie head at the front of the school.
New mascot.
Yep.
That'd be
The clay Trojans, the clay Augies.
Well, how can we end our meeting any better than that? On that adorable note, I will now take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.